Yeah. One way. We're in Ohio for way.
Get back to Hall.
Yeah.
Give me your hat. I'll pass your hat around. We're waiting for one more family, so we'll just hang on a second.
Oh, excuse me.
Presented the Brendan Award for meritorious and distinguished service in furthering the aims and ideals of the veterans of the foreign wars of the United States, given on this date, 9 July 94, and is signed by Ron Denal, who was a past Lake Geauga County Council commander, and he is presently Junior Vice Commander of the 7th District, which means he's in charge of 77 posts, and Vice Adjutant up on Mineral Lake.
Okay, well, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 23rd Annual Gurto Family Reunion. I want to begin by acknowledging a few family milestones. This year, 1994, we welcome into the family Kristen Ulrich and Shane Casimir. And we also remember the passing of Mary Moneypenny and Ellen Gurto. 10 years ago, 1984, Nathan Gurto and Amanda Purdy were born. Faye Moneypenny married John Casimir, and Brenda Moneypenny married Doug Ward. 20 years ago, 1974, Alan Vorse was born, and Sheila Moneypenny married Dan Schneider.
Little Alan.
30 years ago, 1964, Cam Miller and Letty Gurto were born. 40 years ago, 1954, Eileen Gurto and Francis Gurto were born, and Joe Gurto married Lorraine Smith. 70 years ago, 1924, Mary Moneypenny, Bill Lewis, and Peggy Gurto were born. 100 years ago, 1894, Peter Gurto was born in Campobasso, Italy, and the Gurto family was created. When Peter came to America, he was given the name Gurto, and in 1917 he shared that name with Mary Dovecchio. During the next 21 years, 12 Gurtos were added to the family. Sadly, 2 of the babies died, leaving 10 children by 1938. The very next year, the second generation of Gurtos began their families when Rosie married Bob Spear in 1939.
Yay, for Rosie!
23 years later, in 1962, the youngest of the 10, Pat, married Gail. By this time, Peter and Mary had 25 grandchildren. 7 more grandchildren were born during the following 10 years, and at the first family reunion in 1972, after Peter and Mary died, there were 56 Gurtos on the books. 22 years have passed, and as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the family, the total number of Gurtos is now listed at 124, with number 125 due very soon to my brother Tony and his wife Pam. We've also begun the 5th generation of Gurtos with Johnny Lewis III. I would also like to mention in passing, or just make a passing reference to the 20 or so people who have passed through the Gurto family and have since moved on to their own lives. Now I have a bit of an idea of what Grandpa must have gone through when he left his homeland so many years ago. The initial excitement and feeling of adventure soon gives way to the realization of living in a new land. Trying to fit in and not being able to use your experience as a point of reference because your past is so different from your present. As a family comes along and you get caught up in providing for and raising your children, where you live becomes less important. But still there's a yearning for the past. Not to relive it, we all want to move ahead, but to remember it. To once again know the comfortable, secure feeling of the familiar. Grandpa never experienced that. He didn't have the opportunity. Fortunately, I do have the opportunity, and I can share it with my family. It's available every year at the family reunion. As we enter into the second century of the Gurto family, my generation has a big responsibility. It's up to us to ensure that our children realize the importance of the family reunion. We can do this very easily by being positive and excited when planning and preparing for the reunion, by speaking highly of the relatives, and most of all, by having fun at the reunions. Let's all remember the fun we all have at the reunion.
Right on.
Let's all remember the fun that we all have at the reunion, and that way we can feel confident that in the year 2094, the 1,245 Gurtos will be celebrating the bicentennial of the family.
You better check those figures, Joe.
I'm married to an accountant. She worked it out. Now I'd like everyone to bow your heads, and close your eyes, and think about the family as we invite the spirits of Grandma and Grandpa, of Vinnie and Ellen, of Mary and John Moneypenny, Bob Petrosky and Bob Spear, to join us at our reunion and in our prayer today. Dear Lord, we thank you for our family and for bringing so many of us together today as we celebrate this important occasion. We ask that you continue to watch over us and bestow your blessing upon us. Bless the food we are about to receive from your bounty. We pray the next 100 years are as wonderful as the past 100 years have been. We ask this through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Now I think the tradition is that the seniors lead the family in helping themselves to the food. So please go ahead and do that. I wanted to start something else this year. I think that it's a shame that we haven't had it 23 years ago, the first one. But I bought a little guest book. If everybody would just sign it, and my mother will hang on to it and bring it to the reunion every year, and we can keep a guest book going of everyone who's attended the reunion. Okay?
Time for babies?
Very good.
Time for the little ones?
Sign for the little ones, yeah.
Bottom line, and he made it all, and he mixed it. So in honor of him, I'd like to do some goals. And I would like to start, and anybody else that would like to do them, just get up and do one. To start out with, there are, I think, over 100 people here today, and I think that in itself is amazing. And what also is amazing, that we are all related.
That is amazing. Birth certificate was on Friday.
Right. That is amazing.
And in honor of the birthyear, I'm going to start the toasting with one of Grandpa's favorite flowers. The roses. The first rose is for Grandma. And this rose is because Grandma had the courage to marry Grandpa. And for that, they started all of this. And that's amazing too. The second rose is for the seniors. The ones here and the ones that aren't. This is for you. And the third one is for the juniors and the future juniors. And all the future juniors down the line. And the last rose, but not the least, is for Grandpa, in honor of the year of his birth. And Grandpa, this bud's for you. After the ceremony, we're going to go up to the cemetery and put the roses on the grave. So there's enough here for each different site. And we're going to put one in the lake for my dad and mom.
I notes. I have a bad memory. I remember my childhood very well. Some of my most memorable times as a child are deeply embedded in my mind. I'd like to reflect a few of those for you all. Some of you may know and some of you may not. But at some point in time, Paul learned everything that he knew from doing it. He didn't have any formal education of any sort. But yet he tackled anything he wanted to do. He wasn't afraid to do it. And he would take an attempt at it, and generally, 9 times out of 10, he would turn out fine. From those experiences, we all learn. If you look about you, and you look at your family, you'll reflect and see those things within them. And they're handed down from generation to generation. One of my most memorable times with my father, I had many. One I want to reflect with you all. We lived on West Adams Street. There were 4 or 5 of us at the time. Dates and all that are hard to come by. I won't try to reflect dates to you. My grandfather, which is on the picture up there, Mom's dad, passed away in 1932. At that time, shortly thereafter, I had bought a piece of ground over on Residence Street that ran from the corner clear down to the other end, which is where the little house sits today. And he had dreams of someday moving his family to that site. To do this required a lot of thought and a lot of hard work and capital to do it. We were very poor as a lake neighborhood. The funds that we had were very limited. And in any event, through the cooperation of a loan company in town, we had bought 2 homes over on West Adams Street, but they hadn't been paid for. Of course, we were more or less in a rental state. At some point after he bought this property through the same organization, they offered him a deal. And the deal was that he would give up the homes on West Adams Street, which were 2 of them, and he would get a home over in Residence Street. And lo and behold, the house was over in Broad Street. Now, how are we going to get this house on Broad Street over to Residence Street? Well, the people he dealt with, I say we all were deeply involved in what he was trying to do. Agreed that they would move the house on a new site. So through all of that arrangement, we had a foundation dug on Residence Street. We're talking about the house where Joe lives today. That's the homestead. The house was put on rollers and the moving company was made to move this for us. They agreed that they would bring it over and put it on the foundation and so forth, which we did. And from that point on, this family grew, of course, and many of my brothers and sisters were born in the new residence. That was a very memorial day for my dad. It was a dream that he had wanted for whoever knows how long. And in tribute of all of that, I would like to make a toast for all of his insights to do this, to keep this family together. And I can't remember the words I want to say. I have to look at it. Excuse me.
Let the kids go outside now.
I have some notes, but I'm not good at reading notes either.
Come here.
Things that were most important Pa and Mom were his family, his friends, and to make a better life for all of us. He did that. The time was a little appreciated for all of this doing. As the years grew on, these thoughts came back to you, and you appreciated them even more. This thought is a toast on Mom.
Well, Jim touched on most of the high spots on our family beginning. And, there's a few things that happened while we lived at this residence. And my dad also had a first home on Clark Street. Maybe some don't remember it. That was about 2 blocks down from Chestnut. That was his first homestead. And then from there, he moved into West Adams Street. So I'm just going to try to recap maybe about 10 years. And I would hope that some of the other brothers and sisters would kind of pick up when they were small. And that way they can give you a little insight of what they went through as childhood. So, like I said, our first home was on Clark Street. From there we moved to Residence Street, West Adams Street. And Grandpa Christy also moved in with my dad and, of course, my mother's father. So they all moved in, they all worked together, and they pooled their money. They were good at that. They do like the Cubans and Spanish do today. They all pool their money and try to help one another out. In the neighborhood where we lived, it was mostly all Italians in the neighborhood. Our 2-3 block area, the majority of the men folks all worked at the Nickel Plate Railroad, and the Finnish people lived down the harbor, and they all more or less worked down the dock. And that was the extent of the Polish people worked in the car shops and the railroad, and the Irish were the engineers. The Irish had the jobs in the machine shops. And that's about what the extent of the city of Candids used to be. Now, my dad was doing real good. Like Jim said, we had 2 homes, possibility of getting another home. And things happen as life goes on. We all realize that. My dad, when he moved into the homes on West Adams Street, were just 4 walls, really, is what they were. There was not much of them. Our first recollection was he had a big old potbelly stove. And this was to keep the whole house warm with a potbelly stove. He was the first one in the neighborhood that was able to put in coal-burning furnace. And we had a register in the center of that living room. It had to be about 3 foot square at least. And my dad would go down there and fire that thing, and that bonnet down there used to get red hot. And a couple of little kids, I don't know who they were, whether it was Effie or someone here when they just born, they'd get that grate and sit on that thing, and boy, I'm telling you, you'd see the square marks on their butts from the thing. And it was dangerous. But that one register heated the whole house. The old houses then had vents cut in the ceiling with registers up there, and it was just 4 stairs. So all that raised the hot air up into the bedrooms. But my dad was always a good provider, that's what I'm trying to say. He always looked out for the babies, the children, and his wife. His wife we adored. No 2 ways about that. Mom and Pa were two you don't find better people. As far as I'm concerned. I've traveled a lot, seen a lot of people. But he was always in love with her so much. So then he bought Ma first electric stove over there. And all the neighbors used to come over. I remember I was a little kid, the neighbors would come over to toast bread in an oven. Can you believe that? I think toasters were, never heard of toasters. They come over and just burn the bread, burn the toast, but she'd always have coffee for them, or she'd have coffee, she'd have a jug of wine on the table. But you know, Italian ladies, they all loved Mom. Mom always put on a good table. She never refused anybody anything. That's one thing about her. So I always remember these things. And then I recall buying her a beaver coat. Maybe Jim knows, maybe somebody else. Oh, yeah. She had a full-length fur coat. And that was the first fur coat I ever seen. I'd never seen anybody in town ever had one. And that thing was just beautiful. The pelt on it was beautiful. And she'd wear that thing everywhere. She'd go shopping, drag us along, go shopping. And well, when she'd go downtown strutting in that beaver coat and her hat on, everybody would look and stare at her. I mean, it was just beautiful. Just something that, a lot of you maybe don't know, but maybe Jim and Rosie would know, you know. And jewelry, same thing with jewelry. He always bought her jewelry. And a lot of that jewelry disappeared. We don't know where it went. We had, Ma had a little china closet in their living room. And they kept their bills there, and money and change and so forth. And that's where their rings were kept. And she had maybe half a dozen or a dozen rings. Beautiful rings from Italy. They were out there. But we don't know where they ended up. Somebody's got them, someone's using them. And God bless whoever's got them. I hope they take care of them. And Pa also had a 38 stub revolver up there to protect the family. And then as the kids were getting older and growing up, I heard Ma get into it now and then. You know, he finally got that revolver. And she said, "What are you going to do with it?" He said, "I'm going to take it out and bury it." He said, "I don't want any of my kids getting hurt." In Italian, talking in Italian, you know. So he took that little 38, just with a small thing, put it in the palm of their hand. He'd take it out there, he took it somewhere and buried it, and that was the end of it. Never seen it anymore. And the only thing that was left was a few bullets, right?
Never found it.
Never found it. That was the idea.
We did look, but we never found it.
And during the baptismals and first communions and confirmations that we had when we were kids growing up, Ma and Pa always put on a party. You can always count on them to put on a party. And they invite the whole neighborhood. I mean, there'd always be half as many people you got here today. There'd always be people around coming in. Confirmation and baptism were a big thing to them. They just adored having people around and having parties. And these things, as far as I can recall, and they meant a lot to me too. And I just know we took out a few things and try and elaborate on it the best I can, you know. And also, Pa built two ovens, brick ovens, wood burning ovens for bread. He built one on West Adams Street and built one on Residence for children. And the one on West Adams Street was on a barn in the backyard. We had a little barn back there. He built that back there. And the thing was just beautiful. I mean, all the neighbors used to take turns to come over, to bake their bread, and Mom would let them use it. Pa used to get the wood for them, go down the railroad, strip railroad cars, come home with a pushcart full of wood. And all the neighbors just come in and take turns. One day a week, tell them to bake their bread for the whole family for a couple weeks at a time. So that's a generous Pa used to be with other people. I mean, he was that type of a guy. And one of his favorite nieces got in trouble one time, and I don't want to mention any names, but, you know, she got in a little jam, and everybody was chastising her and this and that. And Pa said, "Well, the town, you know," he said, "who are you people to pass judgment on somebody?" So at that time, we're talking back in the 30s now, the money was pretty tight. He took her, got her out of the jam, whatever it was. Now I know the figure that Ma has told me time and again. It was over $1,000, whatever it cost, whatever he was wrong with. And he took her that, paid for that. And this was my cousin's relatives or something anyway, but Pa took care of that. Never chastised her, never. She needed help, he was there.
What page are we on, Dad?
I got 5 to go.
Oh, better sit down. Lauren wants to hear, don't you?
Now, the thing that knocked Pa for a loop, I'm quite sure some of the older people here would know, but that Great Depression what knocked him for a loop. He was out of work for many, many years. And he figured a crash at 29 came here, and from 30, 31 he worked, and about 32 he got laid off. And he just never recovered from that. He was off many, many years out of work. Had a family to raise. At the time, Rosie, I marked it down, Rosie was about 11 at the time, Jim, year 10. Mary was 5 at the time, according to the records I got. Tony was just 2 years old, and Effie was 1 year old at the time. The rest of you guys were just a twinkle in Pa's eyes. So, but that depression, the Great Depression really knocked him for a loop. The people he worked for just wouldn't get him back on the job. this was part of the reason he bought that property on residence, to start it all over again. And then he finally did get back to work. But I think the Pa hadn't had that hard setback for about 4 or 5 years. And the way he was going and the money he was making, hard working, he worked day and night, that he would have been financially well off to come for an immigrant. He would have done real well. I'm quite sure he would. So he didn't have the education like Jim said, but he sure had the mucks. And Ma also had it. She was real smart. She knew all this stuff. You got to take your hat off to your mother too, guys. She really helped along all these years of folks. So that depression, though, everybody that lived in that area, it was tough. And like Grandpa Christy died in 1932, 34, I seen it headstone says 34. But he lived with us quite a few years. So he used to tell me a lot of stories in Italian. You know, some I understood, some I didn't. I realized that. But one thing that struck me, he had an old brass bed, if you remember, in the front room, the parlor, and had a sunroom in the front on Adams Street. And Ma had made that into his bedroom. We were upstairs, and the kids were upstairs, and Ma and Pa was downstairs off the kitchen. And he had one of these big, heavy brass four-poster beds. And I recall one of the knobs on it, the ornament on top, used to unscrew. So one day I was in there by mistake, probably by chance, and he's taking this thing off. Next thing you know, he's pushing up the string, pulling up the string out of that thing, and this is where he kept his money in there. I was in the bank. He had a string wrapped around his dollar bills that went down the hole. The string would be over his side, and then he'd cover it up. So that used to be Grandpa's bank. But the funny thing about him, in the springtime when we used to do spring cleanings, one of us used to go down in that furnace, and that bonnet there used to be stuff all in there, money and everything. And Ma used to probably say, whoever goes down there and cleans that, gets to keep all the money that's down there, whatever's down there. Well, you know, Grandpa would come along and throw a few dimes, a few quarters down in there, so we could see him shining down in there. Then we'd jump down in there. It would be about that deep from the floor, to start cleaning out all that old bonnet, whatever was fine, 30, 40 cents, 50 cents. You know, it was big money then, but it was something. It was a close family. I really appreciate that. Just little things like this mean a lot to him. And when we went to, before we went to residence, it must have been our residence. Jim and I, during our summer vacation, he was a couple of years older, and I was, our summer vacations aren't like kids have today. The times were tough. Jim and I used to go paint houses for I could go in alone. We worked the summertime to pay back taxes or pay forward a little rent, mortgage payments. If you people see some of that big wooden ladders that they have in Connie at the 3-4 story houses, you can imagine him and I, about this tall, trying to bring those ladders up to the side of the house and pull them up and go up to the base. And hang by the shoestring up there, stretch it out, reach it out. So the ladders weighed more than we did put together, really. But it was tough. It was a tough going. But we did it. We did it tough family. And I'm quite sure Pop appreciated it. And when he bought the land over there, and the land was available, and anybody around it wanted to build on it, we chose not to build. We bought a home. Some of the other ones wanted to build there. You let them build on it. I think the ones that do live there now should realize that. Something we're going to hold on to, and there'll always be a family, their children, maybe perhaps, or whatever. That's entirely up to them. But he did offer everybody a family, any property if they wanted it, and was there to build a house in. So that's one thing about Pa. Pa was always generous. Always generous, even to his dying day. So anyway, all this here happened, and you know, I'm happy to be part of this family, and I'm quite sure the other brothers and sisters are too. Sometimes it's trying to think about these things. So all I can say in closing my toast to him would be that he cared so much for other people. was always caring and giving. But I don't know.
What about your mom?
She's taking the treatment.
One was our Christmases. Our Christmases, we never got presents because we couldn't afford them. But we all had our Christmas sock. We all hung our Christmas sock, and I always made sure that I got one of Mom's cotton socks because they were nice and warm. And in that sock, we'd have an orange, an apple, banana, nuts. But the best part was in the toe of the sock. We always got a 50-cent piece. And with that 50 cents, all of us kids were allowed to go to the old theater downtown Candids, the Ohio Theater. And we go there at 11 o'clock when the doors open. And we stay there till 7:30 at night when they wouldn't let anybody else in. And we got our money's worth. With that 50 cents, we were able to go to the movie, get popcorn and a drink. And we used to see like old movies like Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and all those kind of Western movies that were popular at that
Silent
time.
Whistle? Silent Whistle.
Yeah. And that was one happy time that I remember, that all of us kids were happy and we all shared that part of Mom and Pa's giving of themselves to all of us kids. Another time was Easter. We never got Easter baskets per se, but Mom always made us an Easter basket. Pa would go out and get the branches from the trees and skin them all the bark off of them. She'd boil all the eggs and she'd get blueberries or grapes or something to color the eggs. And she'd make us, and all of us kids, an Easter basket. And she'd wrap the dough around the egg and she'd put a handle on it. And we always had our Easter basket. But Pat and Joe, one time, ate their Easter baskets like two little piglets and totally destroyed mine. And Mom chased them all around the house with the broom. I thought she was going to break the broom over both of their backs. That's how angry she was that time. Another time I remember Pa was when he would go to work and he'd come home, and at 3:30 I'd always walk up to the corner to meet him because I knew, and I carried his lunchbox home because in his lunchbox he'd always save a piece of fruit for me. And I'd always have that piece of fruit. And he'd tell me on that two little short blocks going home, he'd say, eat it before the other kids get it. So I always had a piece of fruit. I was no dummy. I got there sometimes 5 minutes before I seen him coming around the corner. So those 3 things I'd like to share with everybody. My happy memories of Mom and Pa. So to Pa, if you're listening to us, we're having a good time on your 100th birthday.
They were always wonderful. Easter, when we married, of course, things started getting good. And the boys, the 3 boys, were like this. Frankie, Joey, and Patsy. And I can always remember Patsy being the baby special, that's my daughter, now Michelle. And I can always remember Patsy, even up till he was in his 20s, climbing on Grandpa's lap and crying. I think they were phony volunteers to get his own way. And of course we knew it and we loved it. We loved him doing it because after all, he's the baby. He's still the baby. He's still the baby brother. And to me, he's the best. One of the best. My husband is the best.
The few times I've ever talked to him or ever been around him, I'm sure everybody knew he had a pocket. And what he kept in his pocket.
The bank.
It was his bank, right. Excuse my bad. But one day for some reason or other, we were talking, and I said to him about, why don't you want to ever go back to the old country? No, he says, I came over, I left it. It's behind me. But, he says, I would like to go back and find the tree where I planted all my money. Before I left, I buried everything, and he says, I would like to find it. And that was when the war was going on, or right after that, because I didn't come into the picture till 48. And he said, but he says, I hope those bombs blew everything up. And that was his excuse. But I often wondered, I'd like to find that tree. Or where it was.
I go over there sometimes and sit there and I can understand every word.
Timothy.
But he used to tell me, Stevie, you know how Rockefeller got so rich? And I'm listening, I'm believing everything. He says, every time you see a penny on the ground, you bend over and pick it up. So even then he was trying to put in your mind, you know, that you got to save that change, get that, you know, everything counts.
Hold this on me. Oh no, I did it. Oops.
Sharen?
This red button.
As the first grandchild, you have special.
Yeah.
Well, I did mine already. I don't want to.
Here, hold this one. The red button. Just, it's on. Just look at
We were always
Sharen, how about the ice cream wagon just come around? Grandpa?
I did something at Grandpa's funeral. Because you all spoke of his pocket, and he was always had money, and everybody knew. I mean, all the kids knew that Grandpa had that money in his pocket, right? And so, at the funeral, I made sure I went up to Joe's dad, and I told him, I says, give him $5. I said, you make sure that that goes in my Grandpa's pocket. I hope he used it for his wine up there.
I want to just say something that I told my son Timothy, and he took it to school. He thought it was so good he went to school with it. I said, I've got to tell you a story about your grandfather. I said, when you go to the family reunion, you're going to hear a lot about your great-grandfather. That's my grandfather. And I said, and hopefully everybody's going to tell you a little bit of a story about him. I said, here's one that I remember. When I was about 9 years old, I suppose, we used to walk home from lunch, from school, for lunch from Lakeview School. And every day we'd come home for lunch and walk back to school. And well, one day my mother was out shopping or something with Effie and Grandma or something. And they told me to go over to Grandpa's house and he'd make me some lunch. Well, I don't know if anybody of you have ever had Grandpa make lunch for you. But Grandpa made me a bologna and jelly sandwich. And I sat there and I looked at it and I ate it. I felt sorry for Grandpa. He looked so pleased with himself. I ate the sandwich and he goes, how was the sandwich? I said, oh, it was good. He goes, good, here's another one. I had to eat 2 bologna and jelly sandwiches. That's one of the things I remember about Grandpa.
I didn't know Grandpa very well, but when I first started to date Diane, I didn't know what to expect, and I'm trying to be the boyfriend, trying to make a good impression, and Diane takes me over to the house and introduces me, and Grandpa didn't say much. Like Stevie said, I caught about every other word, and he says, about all I can remember was, he said, one word, drink, and I shoved it in my hand. And he says, come in living room. That's about, maybe he said that, I don't know. And I just remember him as being generous, and some of the pictures we passed out last year where he's sitting on the bench outside, that's the way I remember him, sitting on that bench, and you know, maybe having some wine then. But I didn't know him very well, but I did have some fun memories.
I forget, what kind of, I think you have a Donald Duck or yellow Donald Duck.
Okay, he's got that, and then the fruit glasses, the little fruit cups that my aunts and uncles got, most of them got them anyway, yeah.
This is like it.
About that size. He always have, I can remember, from what I can remember, is he'd have the little fruit juice glasses, and he'd constantly be traveling down the basement to fill them up. But it was that size, and I tried, and from what I remember, he had like little daisies or a little flower on it. But I couldn't find them. I tried really hard. But that's as close as I could get. And anybody that has one can keep it as a remembrance if they like. And those are hard to come by. But see, I can remember the little
Really,
juice
it was a jelly
glasses,
jar.
all his little, yeah, and his little trips down the basement.
He never drank water, and he told us that many, many times. And the thing being, he said, the water will rust your pipes. So he never drank water. He didn't believe in drinking water, only as a matter of absolute necessity. Wine was his favorite drink, and he made his own wine. And he would have to make 100 gallons of wine. That's 2 50-gallon barrels full of wine to do him through the winter months and into the next grape season. And he had it all well calculated, that he could only drink so much at a time for it to last that long. But he did, he rationed it out, and he did make it last that long. And we were all involved, us boys, in helping Tom make his wine, such as running the press, and we didn't stomp in the grapes with our bare feet as most people would think. We come awful close to it. But in any event, he would treasure his wine, and he measured it, and he monitored it, and you couldn't get a glass of wine out of that basement without him knowing that a glass of wine had come out of there.
So you should feel honored you got a glass.
I remember that very distinctly, and it's a good wine story to remember. Thank you.
I remember, too, the uncles always used to help him press his wine, but he let the grandchildren take it over to the back so they wouldn't be sipping around the side of the garage. He made sure it all got in the barrel that way. Susie, where's Susie? She had a story about the wine story.
I remember Rosie told me a story once about Grandpa. I don't know if somebody could verify this or if anybody knows if it's true or if it was just Rosie. But she said that when Grandpa was 3 years old one time, he was behaving very mischievously, and his father just about fed up, and he put him in a bag and was going to take him down to the river and throw him in till his mother came and saved him and pulled him out of the bag.
Hey, Joe, good idea.
A little Italian discipline, huh?
We hope that's not a true story.
Yes, I hope it's not a true story either.
There's a river right there.
Yeah, right now, right.
Well, Susie's wine.
Talking to my father, he was doing something in the garage and he started talking about all the trouble John's in. And so as soon as he left me, he had to go. My father went and asked my mom, what happened to Johnny? Thinking Johnny Lewis, because he was talking about John. And my mother said, don't be stupid, it's on the soap opera. And he did, he loved to watch the soap operas. And when I was moving, when I graduated, and I left that year to move to Cleveland, and I went over to say goodbye to Grandma and Grandpa, because I was moving a big, 80, 90 miles away. And Grandma were telling me goodbye, and I mean, it was kind of hard, because I lived behind them, my whole life. Grandpa was saying things to me, and the clearest thing that stuck to my mind was, don't get raped.
Here's the carousel for the kids.
$10.
Oh, nice reunion, huh, Rob?
We're going to Seattle in a couple weeks like that.
Yeah, so am I.
This is 15 shots to take.
That's what everybody's saying. I'm glad you made it. I will.
So Joe says, go around and video people. Okay.
What's your address? Which one?
O-O-C-O-N-O-M-O-W-O-K.
Hi.
Gee, you did such a good job. You have to come back next year and do it again.
Okay, you pay my money and I'll meet you.
Oh.
I will set aside today.
Peggy,
Is your mommy at? Let me see.
right behind you.
Guy gave him a little yellow leather strap. He gave it to him when he was outside. Get that cute little baby in there.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Look at Aunt Frances.
What a good girl. Hi, Rocky. Hello. How are you? Oh. Oh, that's good.
Nothing. Daddy likes babies.
There's Mark. You made it, Mark.
Yep.
How'd you get here?
White drop out.
Oh.
There you go.
Francis, get you on video.
Huh?
Michael made it for Francis.
Yeah. Gee, you made it, Michael.
First one in a long time.
Yeah, me too. First one ever for me. Yeah, oh yeah. Is it? Whoa.
Is your gun?
Hi. Here's the crate.
I just tell them nice
All those secret recipes.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi, Francis.
We've got the video camera today. All charged up.
All charged up?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, because we have a widescreen enough.
Oh, that's a nice one. Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
From Ohio. Just to say hi to you down in Australia. I'm Joe's cousins. I'm Brenda.
I'm Joyce. And this is Alex. Can you say hi to Francis? She's taping you.
Oh.
No?
Carl just threw water down there.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, Francis.
Just videoing all the people.
Thank you. Are you having a good time?
Oh, yes. Very interesting.
That's good.
Fascinating.
You got a nice crowd this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
You have a great time.
Yeah. There's the playground. It's a good playground for the kids to climb and...
Hey, Francis.
Hi. Cheers.
Johnny, go across. How you doing? Almost walked in front of you.
That's all right.
The pinata.
Hey, Papa, what you do there?
Can I just focus this music, Joe?
What's the settings? What's the settings?
25, an 8, and infinity. That's not right, is it?
Well, you have to focus it, but put the thing on 5.6.
Oh, that thing, yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait.
I'm right. Go ahead. You alright? Sorry, Joyce, you alright? Tony. Tony! Tony, get the candy!
And this is for the older ones.
Whoa! Good stuff, huh? Wow. Yes. Good boys. Let me see what you got from the pinata. What have you got, Timothy? Oh, wow. Good kids. Don't stand over there. Jeremy, come back. These are the big kids. Get back.
Just sit down and watch, don't
And Patty hits better than that.
Get little Johnny out of the way.
Joe, you ready?
Putting your bags, you're getting ready.
Hey, all done, Joe?
Hold on. Now who wants to go next?
Get the old picture and make them all pose the way they were in that park.
Where's my wife?
Wow, where's he going now? David?
Where is she?
Whoa.
Thanks, Francis.
She has 3 rubber guns.
Next time.
Uh-oh, you sound like you're on You're done. Wow, where's he going now? David?
Where is she?
Whoa.
Thanks, Francis.
She has 3 rubber guns.
Next time.
Uh-oh, you sound like you're on You're done. Yeah. 3.
Oh, is that all of them?
1. Joe quit. 2, 3. There you go. 1, 2,
Smile,
3.
Bill.
Cheese.
You know you don't want to be here, Bill.
Get your hands out of your mouth.
That'll be right.
Okay, look this way.
Hold the pretzel, Cher.
1, 1,
too late on videoing all that.
That's all right.
Come on, Sharon.
2, 3. Cheese.
Those kids look alike.
Cheese. Wait a second. Wait.
Are we ready?
Everybody ready?
Smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait
That's a good one.
That's enough of that.
One more. Jesse. Okay. Good one.
She smiled just like you know, Tony? Well, does this automatically advance?
Okay, are you ready? Look it, ready?
Peggy! Tell him to get up.
Stay right here.
Hey!
Who's this one?
Tell him to get up there.
Who's that?
Hey!
Johnny.
Hey!
Hey, where's Stevie?
There we go.
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
Wow. Is he one of the family or isn't he?
Luke,
Nope.
come here.
He's a ringing.
Christopher.
Luke!
Hey. You. Peripheral people.
Timothy!
That kid likes to have his picture taken.
Who's that?
There we go. Say points for me.
Don't worry, don't get nervous. I got 3 cameras. Here, you take this one. You take 2, okay? Take 2. Just squeeze in a little bit.
Yeah, squeeze in a little bit. Right there. Smile.
I like you roped into this. Hey, you guys look clearer in this one.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I got the wrong button. Everybody take a deep breath.
Candles. This is Tony lighting the candles. Are we gonna sing happy birthday? I think we should.
I think we are.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Grandpa. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip.
Okay?
Hip hip. Hip hip.